I'm Agnes Ofosu-Appiah. I'm an architect with Archxenus company. We are an architectural firm in Jolu. I'm projects coordinator here, and so that means I have my hand in every single project here. I try to make sure that all projects have the resources they require and ensure that they meet a certain quality before they go out. An architect is someone with the requisite training in the building environment to design, review, and plan buildings and other related spaces. Well, to be an architect, you don't necessarily have to have some special skills. Most people think you need to know how to draw. I can't draw to save my life. However, we have tools that aid you. You need to be creative. You need to want to find out a lot more about things. Be curious. I think those are the main things, and you need to have good grades to enter into architecture school and to have the endurance to run the race for 6 years. So typically, in the past, Ghana only had one architectural school, which was at Kenya University. And I think the last 5 years, Central University has also started an architectural school. And so in Ghana, those are the two options you'd go to. You could have good grades in either general arts or business or arts, fine arts, as long as you've done geography, elective maths, general knowledge in arts, I think physics. Yeah, I think those courses, if you have one of any of those, you should be able to study architecture. The reason why I even chose architecture in the first place was because I wanted to change our built environment, one building at a time. And that still excites me. It's exciting to see you think up something and you draw it or model it out, and then through the whole process of back and forth with the client and other project constraints, it comes up. And exactly what you envisioned or exactly what you drew is up, and people interact with it. When Merchant Bank was becoming UNB, they approached us to brand their corporate look for the building. And so we did that with UNB Laboni and UNB East Legon. We designed those and built them. And it was quite interesting to see what it was before and how it transformed. And I think for me, the icing on the cake was one day when we had gone to inspect the final part of the work, and just as we were leaving, a lady was driving by and she stopped. And she came and she was like, "Can I take pictures? Can I take pictures?" We said, "Sure." I wonder why she was asking if she could take pictures. And she said her dad used to own that building and he'll be excited to see what we've done with it. The joy in her face alone was good enough. We had done a good job. And that is what excites me the most. Depending on which school you go to, the duration is either 6 years or 5 years. And in that time, you learn architectural science. You learn things like how a building heats up and how a building cools. You learn construction technology, how you should construct things, the different mixes of concrete and plastering and stuff like that, how woodwork is done, joints of wood. You also learn surveying, you learn principles of design, you learn psychology, you learn project management, and a whole host of courses to make sure that irrespective of what kind of building comes your way, you have the knowledge and the skill to handle it. Now, if you went to Kenya University, you would go through a period of 6 years, 4 years undergraduate and 2 years postgraduate. And then if you went to Central University, you do 5 years. Once you finish your 5 years, you are either required to continue extra 2 years at Kenya University or work for a duration of 3 years before writing your professional exam. If you went to Kenya University, you would, after the 6 years, work for 2 years and then write your professional exam. During those 2 years, you fill in a logbook of your daily activities and submit it to the GIA to write your professional exam. And usually the professional exam is in 2 parts, pre-contract and post-contract, to ensure that you understand the whole process of a building would go through and then you get certified and registered by the Institute of Architects and the ARC, which is the Architects Registration Council. But prior to all of that, your SSE grades have to be top-notch. We are usually the same level as medical students, and you should have studied either geography, elective arts, general knowledge in arts, and business accounting, I think, and or art. So either of these would make up for you to go through that. So when I went to first year, there were a number of people with different backgrounds, and sometimes you ace. When it came to fine arts, drawing, I used to flop because I did geography, and yet the people who did visual arts would ace, and you'd feel so bad. But then when we study surveying, I'm acing and then they are not doing so well. So it kind of balances out in the first year, and then eventually we're all on the same level. Yeah. There are a host of softwares that we use. There are those for drafting purely, and so with that, typically I think the most common is AutoCAD. In present tense now there's Revit, which is quite a smart tool, and so we use that for drafting and physical modeling. We use Google SketchUp for modeling. It's quick, but it's not a technical tool, and so once you model and you have something nice to show to the client, you still have to take it to AutoCAD and draft it for it to be technical drawings. There are other smart tools like Revit. They fall under the BIM group. There's Archicad. We don't use that often here. And then there's Bentley and Rhino and Grasshopper, and those are pretty advanced. We don't use that here currently, but hopefully we'll do soon. Then there are the photo editing tools which you'd use. So I use Photoshop. Some people use CorelDRAW, Ink Design for photo editing and illustrating. There's Illustrator that some people use as well. So basically you should know at least one of each of these groups. Draftsmen typically in this country would work under an architect to learn the skill. Or Kenya University has a 2-year course for draftsmen, and I think at this stage that's the highest level draftsman would go. In their 2-year course, they learn how to draft. They may learn some basic things about block thickness, what blocks consist of, but they're not trained as thoroughly, or for lack of a better word, for such a long duration as an architect would. And so the things that you consider when designing, they don't have that knowledge. And they learn basically how to implement what the architect has designed. And so, like for instance, the way a doctor and a nurse works, the nurses complement the doctor's work, the draftsmen complement an architect's work. And so a good draftsman would be able to replicate exactly what the architect would require in technical terms, so that it's drawn out the way a contractor would understand or a supplier would understand. So there are different career progression ranges that an architect would go through depending on the environment. In a typical architectural firm in Ghana, you may have a senior architect and a junior architect, and you have a team of technicians. In our firm, we have different levels, and so you would enter as a junior architect. That's when you come out of school. Prior to that, we have interns, and then you become a junior architect, and after some years of training, you get to the senior architect level. Now, at senior architect level, here we believe in you doing what you like, and so there are some people whose strengths are design focused, and so they become purely design architects, and they are only encouraged to do design, and they'll be assessed on design. While there are some whose talents run into project management, and so they do that, but you get to choose at senior level. And as we progress, we have a different department here, business development, which is run by an architect. They ensure that we get in touch with competitions, we are able to implement them. We go for conferences to help us build up our knowledge base, that our web page and our communication to the outside world is done according to our standards and our values. I'm project coordinator, and I do a lot of coordination. I'm an architect. And then my principal, who you earlier met, she's an architect as well. But everyone has different strengths. There are other firms that we've come across where there are people who design facades only. There are people who design just taps. There are people who focus on sustainability. There are architects who may focus on wood technology. So depending on what your interests are, you can specialize and then you rise up through the ranks. It's not a very common thing here currently, but it's something we as the office we are looking at. We would want everybody to specialize because then you're doing what you love, and if you do what you love, you excel. The job is quite demanding. I wouldn't lie to you, but as I said, if you do what you love, you don't feel like you are working. Pretty much 24/7, your mind is on the job. If you're a designer, even when you leave the office, you'll be taking a shower or cooking, and then you get an idea. Your mind is on the job. It doesn't go. And deadlines are deadlines. And if it's not perfect, architects have that thing that if it's not perfect yet, you kind of have an itch. So you're always on the job. Even when you're done and submitted, you think of other ways where it could have gotten better. And so it is quite demanding. But I'm sure our families understand. Yeah, the career is extremely fulfilling. I'm happy and I enjoy doing this. I could do this without pay. I've met architects who have been in an office that has been struggling and so haven't been paid for a couple of months. And they still stayed and did their best because it's fulfilling. If you do what you love, you enjoy. Make sure you want it. Because as exciting as it is, and as rewarding as it is, it's also very challenging. And life will throw things at you when you have a goal, but make sure no matter what, if that's what you want to do, stick to it, and you'll come out smiling. Trust me. I think nowadays there are a lot more firms, and so there's a lot more opportunity for an architect to be employed. However, once you've done your 2 years and written your GIA and you're registered, there's no law that says you can't freelance. So there are architects who are not necessarily part of a firm. However, here in this office, we've just, at the beginning of October, we've taken in 8 new entrants. So I think that's a big chunk to take off the market. And if every firm was taking that number or similar, we shouldn't have a problem. The other thing too is Ghana is probably where maybe America was 100 years ago. So we have a lot of things to build. And there's a huge housing deficit. Apart from the huge housing deficit, there are offices to be built, schools to be built, hospitals, hotels. There's so much to be built, really. And so you actually need more architects than we are producing currently. Because for instance, everywhere you submit your drawings in any country, it goes to the town and country planning. Ideally, there should be an architect in every town and country planning office to review the drawings. As it is now, we don't have enough in those offices, and so a planner, or in some cases a draftsman, will be reviewing an architect's drawing. So we need to be training a lot more architects. Girls shouldn't think that in occupations like ours, which are male-dominated and a little more maybe difficult, for lack of a better word, that you can opt out. There's always a way. You have to make sure that if this is what you want, you go for it. And then you build around it to make it work.